explain to you that the burden of proof lies with you, the policyholder, to prove to the insurance company that not only have you got an insurance claim, but that it lies with you to prove the level of damage. Now, especially when it comes to damp, a lot of times this isn't always evident to the Mark I human eyeball. We use a thing called thermal imagery to actually highlight areas of dampness, how far it's spread, for example. In a way, you can even actually see through walls to a certain level, which I'm going to explain a wee bit more further on in this video. But first and foremost, the first step in actually proving that you've got an insurance claim is in terms of escapes of water, for example, we have to actually find the leak. It is ideal that by the time you've actually made the insurance claim that you've found and repaired a leak. But in some cases, where do you start? And I use this example as a good starting point. This particular property, all we had was on this wall here a little bit of flaking paint. That was it. Now, these tiles that you see here, they run throughout the property. Do you take the risk and just start digging close to this area and find the leak's not there and end up digging up half the house? Or do you get leak finding services such as ourselves in to actually see if we can locate the leak further for you? Now, in this particular instance, we did have a little bit of a cheat where we did know, or we had a good idea that the leak was on the hot water, given the fact that there is a radiator just sitting here, and that was constantly cold on the bottom and warm on the top, which is in effect aerated water running through the system. Aerated water is basically where a pipe is leaking, it's dragging air through, which is actually heavier than the normal water, hence it lies at the bottom of the radiator and it's an indicator. It's not solid proof that you have a leak, but it shouldn't be ignored. So in this particular instance, this customer had this with the radiator. So we went out with the thermal imagery. Literally no damage other than a tiny piece of flaking paint here. So we got the thermal imagery on it, and this is what we found. This here is hot water. We can see that the temperature there at that point is 22.5. Over here, it dropped down as low as 16 degrees. Now, that was basically giving us the go-ahead that there's something not quite right here, but it could just as easily have been a piece of missing lagging on the pipe that runs through the floor. So we did investigate further. This line here that you see going up, that's actually a acoustic testing piece of equipment, and we put that to the ground and we can actually hear the drips. In this particular instance, the thermal imagery was saying here's something to look at. The acoustic was saying here's an area that needs to be investigated more, and as I said earlier, we did have a little bit of flaking paint here. So we were able to dig this tile out, dig down and find the leak exactly where we said it was. The customer was delighted. She didn't lose half her house. She actually had a spare tile, so she was able to replace the tile and there was no further issue. As mentioned earlier as well, it is down to you to actually indicate how much damage there is at the property. Again, a lot of the times this isn't, well, it isn't obvious. A couple of examples of this is this ceiling here, where there's little or no damage on the ceiling in a bedroom. But when the thermals were put on it, this revealed this large area of dampness, which was in effect the insulation directly above the ceiling was soaking wet following a leak from a cold water storage tank in the roof space. If a loss adjuster had have came out and was confronted with this, his first comment was, or would have been, Sure, there's no damage there, so I'm not paying out for it. And if you didn't employ the services of Concept Building Solutions, you wouldn't have any cause for argument on it. However, as I say, we were there with the thermal imagery, and we were able to point to the loss adjuster and say, actually, there is damage there. It's substantial, and the customer ended up receiving cover to replace the entire plasterboard ceiling and the insulation directly above. So just a few of the ways that we can actually help you, especially in the leak finding service. Remember, it is ideal that you found the leak and repaired the leak before you've made the insurance claim, as you will be asked these questions. In some cases, insurance companies will not send anyone out until this is actually done. It is your responsibility to fix and repair the leak at your cost. Now, some insurance policies actually cover the trace and access, but not the fixing of the leak. But there is limits on this, generally between £1,000 and £5,000, which is very quickly eaten up, believe me. But if you've got damp or you suspect you do have a leak, but there's no actual damage, please give us a call. The telephone numbers are coming up in a second. Give us a call or email us on the details that are attached, and we'll be out within 48 hours and have a look. Many thanks. Bye.